Hmm. Let's take a look at this clip from The Lost Daughter. I'll come back up.
So she's not calming down.
Yeah. It's been a weird day. We found her and then she lost her doll.
I used to have a doll like that, called Mina.
Nina.
Mina. Or Minnie Mama, as my mother called her. You'll find it.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
So we see later they're encountering a young woman named Nina, played by Dakota Johnson. And this is not to give anything away about this movie, because the way that it unfolds and the way that you thread us through this psychological romance and also thriller is absolutely wonderful. But what I would call this is a meditation on maternal ambivalence, in addition to lots of other things. But this is very much about two mothers coming together, one being thrust back into her own memories of young motherhood, and one in that experience. And when I was watching this the first time, I don't think, to your point about earlier about Ferrante just telling these tough, tough truths about what it's like to be a woman, in this case, what it's like to be a mother. Um, I think the last time something this bold has been done was We Need to Talk About Kevin, right? That
Mm.
incredibly transgressive portrait of ambivalence. Um, do, and I'm fascinated by when you said you wanted women to see this with their sisters and their mothers, but also the men in their lives. And I'd like to ask you, what kinds of responses have you been getting from men about this portrait of uh, motherhood in women?
Well, I have two things to say about this. One is, so so many movies that have inspired me, really inspired me, that I was moved by, that I care about, were made by men. Um, so just to say that, and that inspired this film. I mean, we can talk about that, but so many beautiful things. At the same time, I think it's difficult to imagine what it's like to be a woman if you're not a woman. And that's fair enough. Of course, that doesn't mean men can't tell stories about women. It just means when women tell stories about ourselves, it might, it probably will include a bigger spectrum of our experience. The things that are hidden, the things that happen in private. Um, and I I think I saw myself, I saw women reflected back at me on screen for most of my life in a way that I went, "Oh yeah, that's kind of right. That's mostly right." The edges of my experience are not included almost ever, which made me start to wonder for a while if something was off about me, if my feelings were too big, too much, my need, my thoughts, on either end of the spectrum. And and I think in fact it's just that we weren't fully represented. And you see something like the piano. And I'm not talking literally. Well, no, maybe I am. I mean, when I saw that and I was, 15 or 16, I was totally bowled over because I had never seen anything like it before. So I think that men, just like everybody else, respond to being told the truth and shown something truthful. So this is just a silly example, but like that scene with Jessie Buckley, who I think is so brilliant, who plays young Leda, and she's at the conference and she gets home and she's taking her bra off underneath her shirt and taking the bobby pins out of her hair. If you've seen your sister or your mother or your girlfriend or your wife or whatever do that, that feels right to you. Then you listen to that character in a different way. You go, this is an image of something truthful, and your heart opens. Um, And so I think men appreciate seeing the not fantasy version of women as much as women appreciate it. I also think, and my husband said this a couple of times, and I love it, and I'm going to just steal it from him. He says, look, everyone has a mother. And so I think that's part of why the film is resonating, is the movie is, it's asking a difficult thing of people, of men and women, which is to be able to hold in your mind a mother who is many, many complicated things. Uh, in the simplest way of putting it, who is good and bad at the same time. Um, and for babies, for little kids, that's very difficult, of course, because our survival depends on our mother being good and being bountiful and being generous with her bounty, and the times when she's not, it's almost like that has to be separated off when you're little. So the movie's asking you to kind of use your adult grown up mind and hold an image of a mother, which is all mothers, that is both good and bad and includes ambivalence, like you say, and a lot of pain as well as a lot of joy, both at the same time. We're used to more seeing like a bad mommy. And that's nice sometimes because it makes you go, oh, I'm so much better than this bad mommy. I would never do any of these things. I'm so good. It's harder. Or my mother was so good and nothing like this bad mommy. It's more complicated to consider a mother who's both. And ideally, I think the film is asking you to consider how you are both, how your mother was both. And that's useful, and I hope moving for men and women.